Who decides who the worst really are? When U.S. veterans, military families, and law abiding residents are caught in deportation actions, what does that say about our immigration enforcement priorities?
Secretary, how many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here. Those that
Madam
don't should
Secretary, we
not
are
be here.
joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Sejun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our
And
laws.
can you please
and
tell
knows
Mr.
that our
Park
laws
why
are
you
important
deported
and
him?
every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you
Thank
to
you.
remember that
Madam
our
Secretary, the
programs need
man
to have
behind you,
integrity as
please
well.
stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get
You
enforced.
have
and
broad
which ones
discretion
don't.
as the secretary.
We need to follow
You can issue
the law
parole, you
and
can do all
enforce
kinds
the
of things,
laws.
but you're choosing not to. Will you commit again to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has 2 brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks. A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again, as secretary, you have broad discretion. Will you consider Lance Corporal Barranco's father for parole in place to stay in our country, owing to the fact that he has contributed to our country by raising 3 United States Marines?
This is an opportunity to remind everybody that every person that's in this country illegally has an opportunity to voluntarily go home and come back the right way.
He
Follow
raised
our
3
laws,
United States
and we will
Marines.
facilitate that.
He has been living here peacefully, doing his job for 30 years. You have discretion. You are choosing not to use it. Madam Secretary, you promised America that you would go after the worst of the worst. But these people are not the worst of the worst. A Purple Heart recipient, a military spouse, the father of 3 Marines. And it's not just veterans and military families. You are locking up and deporting children with cancer, mothers with babies in the NICU, United States citizens. There are many problems with your leadership, but the biggest problem is this. You don't seem to know how to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Go after the bad guys. Go after the terrorists. Do not go after veterans, Marines, children,
Gentlemen's
United
time's
States
expired.
citizens. I yield back.
This hearing underscores the profound tension between stated immigration enforcement priorities and the real-world impact on American families, veterans, and legal residents. During the exchange, Mr. Magaziner and Secretary Kristi Noem grappled with cases that expose the human cost of rigid immigration policies. The discussion began with the straightforward question: how many United States military veterans have been deported? Secretary Noem responded that no U.S. citizens or veterans had been deported, yet the testimony and evidence presented paint a much more complicated picture. Multiple cases demonstrate that individuals who have served the nation or contributed significantly to their communities have been caught in enforcement actions despite their legal status, criminal records that are minimal or decades old, or their long-standing presence in the country. The case of Sejun Park illustrates this vividly. Mr. Park, a combat veteran and Purple Heart recipient, was deported to Korea, a country he had not lived in since the age of 7, despite having served the United States and Panama in 1989 and maintaining sobriety and law-abiding conduct for over 14 years. Similarly, Jim Brown, a Navy veteran from Missouri, has endured the detention and pending deportation of his wife, Donna Hughes Brown, a legal resident and mother of a U.S. Marine, for writing 2 minor bad checks decades ago. Secretary Noem's responses emphasized adherence to the law and DHS protocols, but the inability, or refusal, to exercise humanitarian discretion in these cases illustrates a critical gap between enforcement actions and the administration's stated goals of targeting only the worst of the worst. The exchange further highlighted cases involving military families like Lance Corporal Alejandro Barono, whose father, Narciso Barono, has lived in the United States peacefully for 3 decades and raised 3 sons who became United States Marines. Yet even this individual, a law-abiding immigrant and contributor to the nation's military legacy, faced aggressive ICE enforcement actions. These stories demonstrate that DHS discretion, which could be applied to protect individuals who have demonstrated exemplary service or character, is either underutilized or overridden by a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach. Beyond individual cases, the hearing raises broader questions about policy and oversight. Secretary Noem repeatedly framed the agency's work as targeting criminal illegal aliens while asserting that no U.S. citizens were detained or deported. Yet the human consequences presented reveal the limitations of relying solely on procedural enforcement statistics. Veterans, military spouses, and long-term residents are caught in policies that fail to differentiate between serious threats and individuals who pose no danger. This disconnect underscores the importance of robust oversight, clear enforcement priorities, and the thoughtful use of discretion that aligns with the nation's values of fairness, service, and humane treatment. The exchange also exposes a troubling gap between public statements and policy outcomes. Secretary Noem emphasized that DHS is targeting criminal illegal aliens and that Americans are not being deported, yet cases presented show that procedural loopholes, misapplied discretion, and overly broad enforcement actions have resulted in veterans, legal residents, and other law-abiding individuals being detained or deported. This raises fundamental questions about accountability within DHS, how policies are implemented, who decides the priorities, and whether the stated goal of going after the worst of the worst is being met without collateral harm. By highlighting these stories, Magaziner forces the conversation beyond statistics and abstract policy, revealing the human consequences of rigid enforcement and the urgent need for oversight, humane application of discretion, and alignment of law enforcement with the nation's values of fairness, service, and sacrifice.